Before we continue with the analysis, I want to talk to you guys about JerseyFIFA.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that's the latest home shirts, the latest away shirts, tracksuits, or even retro kits, Jersey FIFA has a bit of everything. There really is something for everyone, so if you are interested, then make sure to use the link in the description down below and head to JerseyFIFA.com. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel and the scouting for Manchester United series, where if you couldn't guess by now, we are talking about Alexis Allister, Brighton and Argentinian midfielder, who has been heavily linked with a move to Manchester United. Of course, played United the other day in the FA Cup semi-final, so I wanted to talk a bit about him. Fabrizio Romano reckons that he is almost certainly going to leave quite early in the summer transfer window, and United are one of the clubs that are interested. So what I want to do today is talk about why United might be interested, kind of give you guys a bit of an explanation about him as a player, talk about kind of how he would fit into the team, what he would bring, etc, etc. And we'll start with a bit of a kind of a physical profile. 24 years old, currently plays for Argentina. He is under contract at Brighton until June of 2025, having extended his contract in October last year, just before the World Cup. As always, smart business from Brighton. Really good player. So let's talk about how he would fit in at United. And the first thing we need to do is talk about what position does he even play. I've called him a midfielder, but what does that mean? Because what we can see is that this season he has played in several different positions. Now the bigger the circle, that means he has played that position more. So apparently he's been used the most as a defensive midfielder. I don't actually like the term defensive midfielder, it's inaccurate to me. But he has tended to play in a double pivot this season, or as a number 10. So what that indicates straight away is that he's a very versatile player. To be able to play as a holding midfielder, kind of a box-to-box midfielder, or an attacking midfielder, indicates that we have a very intelligent and technically secure player on our hands here, and that is very, very much the case. From a technical point of view, the fundamentals, Allister is very good. Very, very complete as a footballer, kind of a jack of all trades. He can do a little bit of everything across the pitch. Tactically, he is very, very intelligent. It takes a smart player to be able to play in several different positions and pick it up quickly. He does it very well. Whether it's Brighton, Argentina, he can do almost any job which is asked of him, and he's been brilliant all season long. Now, if he was to play for Manchester United, I believe his role would either be as backup to Bruno Fernandes, or more likely a Christian Eriksen replacement. Meaning he would be on the left-hand side of the midfield three if it's a 4-3-3, or on kind of like the left-hand side of a double pivot in a 4-2-3-1. Although I think the 4-3-3 is more likely. So let's talk about what Allister does well. Now, normally we would kind of go to FBref and look at loads of different reports on him. However, we're not going to do that so much in this particular video, simply because he has played in so many different positions. It kind of skews his numbers. When we use an FBref report for a right back, for example, we're comparing him to other right backs. So, to take a midfielder who has played in so many different positions, his numbers are a little bit skewed per 90, so we're not actually going to use that. We're just kind of going to discuss his strengths, basically. Now, the first thing that Allister would bring to this team is press resistance. Now, once again, we aren't talking Frankie de Jong level press resistance. Not many players are that level. However, Allister is very technically secure on the ball. He can receive the ball with back to play. For example, let's say the centre-back is going to feed the ball into him. He is more than happy to kind of shield the ball in this area, and then he is more than capable of playing on the turn, on a half-turn, dropping a shoulder, going the other way, to progress the ball up the pitch. Something which we know United currently really lack in the team. No real press-resistant profiles in this area. Allister would bring that. He also brings an element of press resistance with his passing as well. And this is of course something which we've seen at Brighton this season. Now, a big theme of Brighton's play has been building in a double pivot like this, and they use quick passes under pressure to unlock a team. One-touch football, moving into these areas, spreading the ball about, and then changing a different position. Again, Allister does this very, very effectively, and I think it's something that we could almost certainly expect to see if he made the move to United. He isn't a first phase specialist in my opinion. However, he is very good in these areas, and for me, still an upgrade on Eriksen. Now, another area in which he is an upgrade on Christian Eriksen is purely his athleticism. Being that much younger than Eriksen, he just covers the ground a lot better. Much more energy, a bit more speed. He just covers the ground across the pitch in general really impressively. And something else which he brings, which Eriksen doesn't currently, is ball carrying up the pitch. So not only is it press resistance receiving the ball with your back to play, it's also getting the ball in these sorts of areas and looking to drive your team forward. Allister, we're not going to look at it, but in general he does rank very well for his ball carrying and his take on ability. He is really good in these areas. And again, it comes from the fact that fundamentally he is just really technically sound. He's just one of those players which you can give the ball to in any situation, and he just tends to deal with it because he's a smart player. He's good with his first touch. His control is very good off both feet. He just makes things work, and it's a really useful sort of profile to have in a squad like this. Now, probably my main question over Allister is is he a player which is going to be a high volume player? It's a term I use a lot on the channel. Someone is going to drop deep and get lots of touches on the ball. Bruno Fernandes recently against Brentford and Everton had games where he had over 100 touches. United need that sort of player because Casemiro doesn't really do it. Would McAllister do it? Genuinely, I'm not too sure. And this is kind of because of the fact that he's been used in so many different positions. For example, when he's playing as a number 10, he obviously gets far less touches than what a deep midfielder would. So, could he be a high volume player? I think he could. His passing is very good. His long passing is decent. His pass completion numbers are always pretty impressive. They're not of kind of that elite level. But I think he could be coached into it. Right now, he isn't. He probably doesn't dictate the play even as well as what someone like Christian Eriksen does. However, like I've said already with McAllister, during his career so far, particularly the last 4 years, he's been able to do every job asked of him. So, I don't see any reason it should be any different for this. I think we have seen him in the past dropping in with centre-backs before, so we could see that. Maybe some sort of system where Casemiro drops in and McAllister plays in front of them. I think that could potentially be a system as well. We're just going to kind of have to wait and see. This is the one area where I would maybe have a slight question mark. Now, whilst we could maybe question whether or not McAllister is a high volume player, one thing that we cannot question is his ability to manipulate and attack space. And again, this comes down to his intelligence, and particularly when moving forward, he is just so good at sniffing out little pockets of space in behind the opposition's midfield, in between centre-backs, in between full-back and centre-back. He really likes this kind of left inside forward or left inside channel area. He really likes to operate in this position, and of course that would suit perfectly what United need. We see Eriksen in this position quite a lot. McAllister could certainly do that with kind of that added energy, that added ball carrying ability, the take on success. McAllister could fit in quite nicely, and he's also going to contribute in the final third as well. Now, for this we will actually go to his FBref report and look at shot creating actions. Now, these are all different types of shot creating actions. For example there, the one where he ranks in the 95th percentile, that is shot creating actions after a take on, for example. So, what we can see is that McAllister creates shots in lots of different ways. Now, this is probably the area where I would have Eriksen ahead of him as a better player. I think Eriksen is more creative in the final third. He is more like closer to that elite level of it. I don't think McAllister is there at this moment in time. However, he is only 24 years old. He has plenty of time still to improve as a player. He's probably not going to peak for another 5 years yet. So, I think, again, it's something which he could learn to do. And whilst he may not offer the creativity of Eriksen, what he does offer more so is actual goal output himself as an individual. And again, it comes down to his movement. We were talking earlier about his ability to find space. This happens in the penalty area as well, where particularly late arrivals for cutbacks, he's really good. Let's say, for example, the winger, Marcus Rashford here. McAllister loves making this run towards the edge of the box, getting in and putting the ball into the back of the net. And it's led to his best ever goal scoring season so far, with 8 goals in the Premier League and 1 assist, 2 goals in the FA Cup and 1 assist. So yes, those assist numbers are a little bit low. I think United would want to see more creativity from him. The goals are there, and United could do with that added goal tally, because at the moment, if you look around the squad, it's difficult to see where the goals come from. Rashford is, of course, the main scorer. Anthony and Bruno Fernandes kind of chip in with some at the moment. United need someone that's going to score goals, so having someone like McAllister who can arrive late into the box and manipulate the space, again, it could be something which is really useful to this United team. Now, I hope by now kind of the vibe you're getting in this video is that McAllister is all round a really good player. Like I said, technically you can put him into almost any situation on a football pitch and he finds a way to deal with it. His close control is very good, very intelligent, knows how to kind of take advantage of space, how to manipulate the opposition into different areas of the pitch. He is very, very good. Technically, great. Skillful, great. Passing, pretty good. Creativity, decent. Contributes with goals. What you might be able to see though, is that he isn't really a specialist in any particular position. You know, if you're talking about other midfielders which might be available, Frenkie de Jong feels like the obvious one. His kind of press resistance and ball carrying, we know, is elite. And, you know, that is a specialist trait. He is elite in that area. McAllister doesn't really have that to his game. Now, the question is that a good thing or a bad thing? For example, if we look at Gundogan at Manchester City, I don't think you would say that he really has a particular skill or a skill set which really sets him apart from the others. But he is a player who's good in tight spaces with the ball, has a little bit of press resistance to him, he's a good passer, he can play in different positions, decent amount of creativity, he's good at arriving in the box and gets a lot of goals, and as a result, Gundogan is one of Manchester City's most important players, and he has been for a couple of years now. Maybe McAllister could bring that sort of vibe to a team. A player who can just do any role, and I wonder if that's what Ten Hag wants. Not these specialist players, but players that can play in different positions. If we look at his signings so far, the likes of Lisandro Martinez, we know can play as a centre-back, he can play as a full-back. if needed, as a holding midfielder. Tyrell Malacia can play left back, right back, inverted. I do wonder if Ten Hag wants these players, which rather than specialising in one position, can actually play in a lot of different areas, because technically they're so good on the ball, and fundamentally, they're just top level footballers. Of course, if this is what Ten Hag wants, then McAllister ticks all of those boxes. He could play as a holding midfielder for United alongside Casemiro, drop deep and kind of dictate the play. He could be a bit more box to box. He could be a creative midfielder as kind of a backup to Bruno Fernandes. I think there's a lot of different jobs he could do in the team. And that's quite an exciting prospect for United, for what Ten Hag is trying to build. We know that rotations in United's team are very important. McAllister is someone who has the ability to drop in here, push wide here. He can do a lot of different jobs. The kind of question for me is, again, do United need a specialist, or do they need an all-rounded player? And perhaps that's something which we need to figure out between now and the end of the season. I dare say in the summer, when the kind of transfer rumours heat up a little bit, we probably will come back to McAllister and have a look at him. But hopefully what this video has done is kind of give you guys just a sense of what he is as a player, because he is a little bit difficult to read at times. Because a lot of his good work is off the ball, we don't always see all of his strengths in every single game. So hopefully this has given you guys sort of a base understanding of what McAllister is as a player. He's very, very good, would be a brilliant option for United. He's another one of those players which should kind of be on a 10-man shortlist for that midfield position. I like the look of him, I think he's really good. Personally, I'm going to keep watching Brighton towards the end of the season. One, because they just play beautiful football, but also to watch McAllister. Because there's something there. I just want to figure out for myself whether I really think he is the one which United need. And yeah, like I said, I'll come back with my findings towards the end of the season, maybe in the summer when the transfer rooms come in. But maybe you guys can help me out as well. Some of you guys might know a bit more about his strengths, a bit more about his weaknesses. You might watch Brighton more than me, potentially his role in the Argentinian team. Of course, he done really well for them to win the World Cup. Let me know what you think in the comments down below though. Is this someone that you'd be going for, or not really? Or is it someone which, like me, you need to watch a little bit more? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you have enjoyed the video, and as always, I will see you in the next one.